Are you a fan of Breaking Bad?
I am, yes. I'm especially a fan of how nobody seems to get that Bryan Cranston's the bad guy.
Ooh.
Bryan Cranston is like a chameleon made of honey, in that he can blend into the background of any TV show and make it oddly sweeter as a result. Cranston is arguably one of the most versatile actors in all of Hollywood, something we can prove by talking about how he landed the role of Walter White on Breaking Bad in the first place.
So was there another role which led to him getting this role?
There was, and it's oddly enough like one of his lesser known ones, because before Bryan Cranston was, breaking all that bad on Breaking Bad and just being a lovable goofball on Malcolm in the Middle, he played a small part in an episode of The X-Files called Drive, where he plays a racist whose head explodes. And if you think that sounds stupid, congratulations on making it this far in life without seeing an episode of The X-Files.
Before we move on, I need to just ask, how on earth does his head explode?
Oh, that's because in the episode it's revealed that the government placed a radio transmitter below his house, which causes him, searing headaches, which at the end of the episode culminate in his head exploding. So here's the footage again of Bryan Cranston's head exploding. And if you feel bad about it, remember that in the episode, he's a racist. Speaking of which, did you see recently that band Who Played? And they had a sign in the background that said Nazi lives don't matter. And people got really annoyed about it.
I've not seen.
Yeah. I think it was Rage Against the Machine, or maybe it was Tom Morello or something like that. But yeah, people got mad about the idea of saying, Nazis suck. It's like remember when Wolfenstein, the new one, came out? And they had the advertising campaign of the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. And people were like, oh man, thanks for going out there and telling people to commit violence against people. It's like, they're Nazis. It's an inherently violent ideology, which should be responded to in a violent manner. Like BJ Blazkowicz does in this clip. Is there anything that just sums up contrarian assholes more than, well, you can't be violent against Nazis? It's something that's a group of people that have universally been agreed to be the most acceptable target for violence in all forms of media. Do you ever feel bad when you see a Nazi get killed in anything?
No. It's there was one game, and I can't remember the name of it.
But it'll be Wolfenstein.
It could well be, where you shot Hitler in his well, I'm going to say bollocks.
No, that might be Sniper. Game, the Sniper game, where they had a DLC mission, potentially the greatest DLC mission ever, where it's you change history by getting a chance to assassinate Hitler.
Yeah.
And there's so many videos online of people sniping it through the nutsack.
I know, and it's just it cuts inside to an X-ray.
That's Sniper Elite.
Yeah, it's just one bollock just getting shot off.
So fucking good. And I never feel it's like Inglourious Bastards, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where they put in that clip of him kicking down the door and just machine gunning Hitler, and they put in the extra scene of just his entire body just getting mincemeat made out of it by this machine gun. And it zooms in on, I forget the name of the actor's face now, but it zooms in on his face just machine gunning Hitler, and then he explodes. It's Quentin, never stop being you.
There was one episode of Supernatural as well where Dean went back in time to kill Hitler.
Yeah. And then you just get those guys. And when I say those guys, everyone knows who I mean, except for those guys.
Yeah.
And it is, come on, guys, all you're doing by saying this is perpetuating the cycle. So, fuck you, Nazis deserve to get their ass kicked. Anyway, Bryan Cranston. That bit is going to make people so mad.
I know.
I'm so happy because, again, it only annoys the exact right kind of person.
So how did Cranston land the role of a racist whose head explodes?
Well, he got that role because Vince Gilligan, the director and creator of Breaking Bad, actually, directed that episode, and he specifically chose Bryan Cranston because he was familiar with some of his, even earlier work, and he thought that Bryan Cranston is the only actor I know who can make a fundamentally unsympathetic character, a fucking racist, sympathetic, purely through the power of his acting. So he chose Cranston for that role, and obviously, by all accounts, fucking nailed it. But then obviously his career went on, and the thing he was known for more when Breaking Bad was being cast was Malcolm in the Middle.
How did this role help him land Breaking Bad then?
Well, when Vince Gilligan was pitching Breaking Bad to AMC, they asked him who he had in mind for the role of Walter White, a teacher turned drug kingpin. And he went, I want Bryan Cranston. And AMC went, you're the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. And Vince Gilligan went, yes, the guy from Malcolm in the Middle. I know he's a fantastic actor. I know he can pull it off.
Yeah.
And obviously AMC were a little bit unconvinced about this because obviously at the time, they only knew him as, the dad from Malcolm in the Middle, as I think most people did when, that show was first announced. It's Hal Wilkerson is now going to, become a drug kingpin. And I think they even joked about it on, Saturday Night Live or something where they did a skit with Cranston where he wakes up in bed as Hal, and like, what a terrible dream that was.
Yeah.
Like, you won't believe what I dreamed. So that's how fundamentally, Cranston is with that character in people's heads.
Yeah. I mean, in Malcolm in the Middle, he was a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, so a huge, it's basically a man-child in that show.
Yeah. So it's just weird to think that it became Walter White.
Yeah, and you can see why AMC would be a little more than concerned that this guy, insert picture of him dressed ridiculously from Malcolm in the Middle, could carry a very serious role that required him to play a very threatening, evil character. And what Vince Gilligan did is he went and he dug up that old episode of X-Files that he directed, and he sent it to AMC.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the result, we need to talk about comedic actors we think could pull off really threatening evil roles. Because I want to give a big shout out to Steve Carell. Because there is a specific episode of The Office, I think it's where Dwight goes to the dentist.
Yeah, apparently.
And Steve Carell just stands there, and the comedic facade is just fucking gone.
Yeah.
And it's just pure intensity coming from his eyes. And he goes, so, where have you been? And it's so scary. I saw that and went, he'd make a fucking fantastic villain in a movie.
Yeah.
I want to see him flex his acting chops and be a bad guy just to see.
A heel Steve Carell.
Oh, heel Steve Carell. Steve Heel. Steve, we can think of something here.
Hillrell.
Hillrell, there it is anyway. So it reminds me a lot of John Cryer.
Yeah.
The actor from 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
Where, he's an idiot who's basically always down on his luck, and now he's Lex Luthor. And he's actually a pretty good Lex Luthor. You think he goes from basically the butt of every joke in that show to the smartest, most influential and powerful human man in the DC universe, and he did it flawlessly.
Yeah.
And I love that bit as well because John Cryer was going bald, and he was using it as an interview where they show I use this fake spray-on hair stuff to try and keep my hair. And then he got cast as Lex Luthor, so he got a chance to cut it off. And everyone went, he looks pretty good bald, so now he don't cut it. Or the other one of, I think it was John Travolta, was struggling with going bald. And then he spoke to Pitbull, and Pitbull talked to him mate, it's time. And I love the idea that someone came up with that men in Hollywood only go bald when Pitbull says it's time.
I can just imagine him just sat there, just putting his arm around him, just
He's
nodding.
Mate, it's not fucking working, it's time to go bald. And he shaved his head. It's just the idea, though, John Travolta, seriously crediting Pitbull with helping him come to terms with his baldness. Oh, and they should just do that. When male actors start to struggle with their hairline, let's just make him play Lex Luthor in a show. Be well good.
I just you could just get Pitbull, just put him next to an actor, and go, it's time, and just seeing if they'd go bald.
Samuel L. Jackson's an actor who went bald very young, and he didn't like the way he looked when he was bald. Even though I'm guessing everyone watching this now thinks, well, no, Samuel L. Jackson is bald. He looks so fucking cool. He's Mace Windu. And there's a great story about when he first started going bald, he started shaving his head. He decided that I want to wear a wig in all my movies because I look the same if I'm going bald guy.
Yeah.
So I'll differentiate my character with just stupid haircuts. And something he actually writes into his his contract is I get to pick my own wig.
Yeah.
And that's why he wears such ridiculous, hilarious wigs in all his roles. I love that shit. And then on the other side, you have Terry Crews, who is not bald but shaves his head every single day. And that blew my mind when I found that out. I was like, no, Terry Crews is bald. He's like, no, I'm not. I just shave my head every single day. Why would you do this to me, Terry Crews? Why?
I just want him to disappear out of public eye for a month and
just
just
reappear. Just come back with a full head of hair.
Yeah. So when AMC saw this episode of Drive, what happened next?
Well, they agreed with Gilligan that, this is the guy we can get in to play Walter White because he can simultaneously be a loathsome, horrible, objectively terrible human being while also projecting just this air of sympathy about him and you just feel bad. And that's how he became Walter White. So if anyone out there is thinking, oh man, I don't feel like I'm ready or suitable for this job, just remember that Bryan Cranston managed to land the role of his career coming off the back of Malcolm in the Middle because of one shitty role he played on a TV show 20 years prior where he played a guy whose head exploded.
So, Bryan Cranston was a bad guy in the last season.
Of Breaking Bad, yes. Yeah. But a lot of people didn't know he was the bad guy, which is something that I find quite funny because there's a quote from Vince Gilligan where he says something like, Bryan Cranston, I hired him because he could play a character like Walter White, he starts as a protagonist and he ends as the antagonist. So he is the bad guy of the last season, but people still think that his character's really cool or a badass.
Yeah,
in that show.
Can't let go of the previous seasons.
Yeah, and it's really strange to me. And there's something I did. I watched all of Breaking Bad again recently when El Camino came out. 'Cause I want to catch up on the show.
Yeah.
And there's something I invite people to go do if they fancy rewatching it. And that's watch the show with the idea in mind that Walter White is always an asshole. He doesn't break bad. He doesn't snap and then become a villain. He was always an asshole. He just never had any power. Because there are moments in season 1 before he becomes Heisenberg where you can see the facade of Walter White, the mild-mannered chemistry teacher, melt away. And you see the entire demeanour of Bryan Cranston's face change. A couple of episodes into season 1, there's a scene where they're talking about the meth problem or something like that. And it zooms in on Walter White and you can just see him smiling as he grips his wife's thigh. And you can see him, he's getting a huge throbbing hard-on. And it just added a whole extra layer to the show for me, watching it and looking for these little moments where just Walter White slips away and Heisenberg immediately comes out and says, yeah, he was always this guy. It's just he had an excuse to become it, and that excuse obviously was his family. And then it goes on into later season, you see it more and more shift away. So he just mixed in the final episode, I did it for me. It was all for me, and people still think he's the good guy. I like that final episode. We do spoilers where he gets shot.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, he does it because he wants to go save Jesse and help his family. It's no, he doesn't. He does it because he can't stand the fact that people are besmirching his name because he's too good. My headcanon for it is when he hears that blue meth's on the market, it's not that he wants to go save Jesse. It's that he's annoyed that someone thinks that Heisenberg's back. And that they'll catch Jesse and think, oh no, he's Heisenberg.
Yeah, he's going to take the glory.
Yeah, and he doesn't want anyone to take his glory. And when he goes to, is it Gretchen and all that shit? He goes, take my money, only my money, to give to my kids. And it's he's still just this tiny, insecure man who can't deal with the fact that other people are more successful than he is or stuff like that.
Have you seen that theory where apparently Walking Dead is the follow-on to
I've
Breaking
seen
Bad?
that. Yeah, they're all terrible, man. It's there's the one of Malcolm in the Middle leads to Breaking Bad because there's an episode where they're making meth in the Wilkinson's garage. It's
because that's the one in Walking Dead on the first season. Merle gets a bag of blue meth out.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a reference. It's also on AMC. It's just a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Here's this other popular show we've got. But I think my favourite moment of Breaking Bad, and it's the one where you just see that this is what Heisenberg is. He's not a super genius drug kingpin. He is just a fucking whiny, needy asshole. It's where they're selling the methylene or whatever it is, the 1,000 gallons of the blue meth making shit.
Yeah.
And he stands there and some guy from another state goes, "The fuck are you? What are you doing here? We're supposed to be talking to Mike." And he steps out in full Heisenberg gear and goes, "You know who I am?" And the guy goes, "No, I don't." He literally plays the card off, "You know who I am." And at that point where you can see in his eyes oh, yeah, I'm not the big dick I am that I thought I was. And he completely unfazed him. And he talks it's worth more in my hands than it is in yours. It's they don't care though. No one cares about this blue meth, mate, because you're literally selling something to meth heads. They don't give a fuck.
No, they just want it.
Yeah, that moment for me is my favourite moment where you just see him, he pulls the "Do you know who I am" card, and the guy just goes, "No, I don't, and I don't care." And it's great. And then no one sees that, Heisenberg isn't the genius he thinks he is. He's just a petty asshole who can't, accept, when things don't go his way. Before we go, though, we have to just talk about my favourite misunderstood part from Breaking Bad, and that is the famous "I am the one who knocks" line. Because you must have seen all the merch with that on.
Yeah.
And usually it's the Heisenberg hat, the glasses with "I am the one who knocks," and you think, this is a super badass line. Everyone always forgets that the context for that line is Walter screaming at his wife after she tells him he's a fucking loser. He's an insecure man just hissing at his wife saying, "No, I'm a big deal." And yet that becomes the thing people put on t-shirts and think, yeah, what a badass character. Look at him shouting at a terrified woman that he's a big deal. That's all he is. He's that guy who, he even got the fucking haircut for it, of the guy who yells at his wife in public. And yet he's the badass, main character superhero of that show. And it's very funny to me that people don't realise that. And I would invite people to go back and watch the entire run of Breaking Bad again, just with the idea in mind that Bryan Cranston's character is always an asshole.